I think it's time to review another portfolio, and this time I just pinged the Design Squad community on Discord that hey, I have a bit of time, and one of the brave ones is Anuj, and his interest is in the research capabilities. So I guess he has a clear direction on the field he wants to focus on. He started with a UI design and now kind of needs to develop it proper hardcore UX skills. We probably know my take already that Behance to me is not really the right format for UX portfolios, has always been a bias for creative and visual representation instead of a hardcore, let's say, research. Even more uncommon is actually for researchers to have portfolios. They have years of experience, they almost lose the portfolio altogether and just use resumes. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Having said that, if you're just transitioning into the field, of course, you're going to need the evidence to land the first job, the second job in that specific specialty. An operations management system for reverse logistics operations carried out at Staples. Right off the bat, again, this is not about UI, but seeing the curves like that, which are smoothed out. When you see these charts, it basically means that you have too few signals of data, unless you really want to keep it that high level and your users prefer it that way, which I kind of doubt. And reading the outline really quickly is clear that this is not a greenfield solution. It's a product which has already been here. He's trying to, I guess, add new features based on what the users actually need, considering that there is a lot of integrations with third-party and APIs and things of that nature. I would immediately then jump back and update this slide and figure out how to present the human benefits or user benefits, because this appears almost introduced that system altogether, but in reality this is update to something neglected, like a product from before. And looking at other small details, it's 6 weeks, so I would immediately as a hiring manager think that this is very small, or your contribution was quite small, or the scope is super small and limited. I would kind of keep that in mind to ask, why is it so small? Have you considered anything else? What's actually next for it? Things of that nature, something to consider. And the next little thing is that actual focus on designing the website and redesign of the website. If you were to apply for research positions, you would kind of need to showcase the evidence that you can do the deep research regardless of a solution as well. So here you're focusing as a kind of like a generalist UX designer, which is totally fine for generalist position, but consider how to make your next project or next case study to be very focused on UX research. Again, don't fake it and update this with what I'm saying here, because that would be just, making things up, and it's going to be very clear to any hiring manager that you're doing so. Try to actually document research evidence or draw it out, or just cover the research as an additional thing and use that as a case study. And next one is understanding the existing system and kind of mapping out all those different dependencies and different departments using it. One thing here, you could kind of draw out something you list out down below, which is those different interviews, like 2 management interviews, department specific interviews. Tell me exactly that this is a stakeholder interviews and workshops trying for you to understand SS platform. Show me the SS platform as well, because I would imagine this new platform is not what was there before. And so you could kind of back that up and say, this is the existing platform, this is what the users actually see, this is the dependencies from the departments, things of that nature, kind of draw it out a bit clearer. Now, another thing which is jumping from that to user research is that there is no hypothesis here, or no clear kind of like constructive way to take from that step with a business or stakeholder interviews and take it to user research. So it's a very hybrid approach, which is fine. Sometimes you need to do that, but tell me exactly what are we trying to get there, because you're saying the initial 2 interviews were conducted with management to understand the business goals and form better questions and tasks for department specific interviews and tests. So you basically took that information and then went to talk to users. How did you decide what to look for? So here you could be a bit more specific and maybe even add the hypotheses, let's say. But I feel like other things you could have considered, and again, don't fake it and add this to this case study. Do it in the next project. For example, you could have started with heuristic evaluation of a system as well. What are the measures? Did you use any scoring? For example, you could use SAS or you could use pure scores in UX. You could kind of drive that measures. And you could also use data from analytics, let's say if there is any plugged in between the system, like to actually capture the time. Here you're kind of hinting at it, outlining it on a, I guess, higher level. It's 6 people, right? And I don't know if this is representative of actual sample of the actual user base and how much of it, but all of this could be also captured with analytics. It seems like you're forcing a bit those measures here, saying that 20 to 80% of the fields in the forms were either irrelevant or had repetitive information is big range, 20 to 80%. Sounds like almost like sort of made up. So you need to be careful with these measures because you're going to be asked exactly how you measured it. Like if you're being that specific but also vague at the same time, that's where the big question mark is going to come in. And I'm definitely going to ask you, like, how did you actually measure it? Like, why does that matter? What evidence do you have? Do you have any quotations? You could literally pull up what people said in quotes to support that. Add exactly what that means to give some examples with pain points or something like that. That could be your summary of a research to begin with. And then you jump into empathy maps, existing journey maps, personas, things of that nature. So you jump into the deliverables. I would kind of advise you to maybe, if you focus on user research, make this almost like a deliverable section and allow people to maybe click and expand those things, because it almost informs a better story than just dropping them in and telling me, hey, go for it and kind of figure out exactly why you did this or how you used it. Why didn't you capture clear pain points and instead express them as feeling? Are these a pain point? Could you be more specific? Because in research observations, you're stating clear figures, but in the journey map, you're keeping it quite vague, worried, agitated, confused. And then you jump into personas, which is clear. I think it's good that you kept it clean and outlined the story. One thing which kind of threw me off was problem statement for each of these. And I would expect those problem statements to be more granular. Pain point, opportunity, recommendation, like, or problem or challenge, recommendation. So it's very clear exactly, purely from research perspective, how are you going to make this actionable? How does it feed back into your hypothesis or what you figure out to discover in that beginning when you took that business requirements and what the business thought the users needed, let's say. Because again, it's not about actual deliverables, it's how you take that information and how you actually make it actionable, or how you take it from that evidence and questioning of different assumptions and presumptions and supporting with evidence, and then making something of it. But make sure that the project is not being altered just because you want to make a case study glow. And then you jump into new tag identification. So immediately it almost jumps into the ideas and things you want to suggest of what changed, like why. Like, how does that tie into the research? Who does is gonna use this? Like, that is sort of missing. I like this visual representation, but I just don't understand why, let's say. Perhaps you covered some of it in here, but make it a bit easier for me. If you discovered that this is a before experience, and these are the things you need to change, like ticketing, like that feature needs to be clearer. These features need to be consolidated. And then just say, this is what I propose, this is the new things, and bam, 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 new tickets, new features, new consolidation things, settings, stuff like that for that type of user. So make it a bit more clear, because you jump into wireframes also very, very soon. Colors wouldn't age you as a UX generalist or a UX researcher. Need to be a bit more careful with that. Of course, for product design, that flows because, you know, you kind of are focusing more on the UI outputs and digital product and how it's crafted. I would even question, like, what happened with those ideas? How did you arrive at that? Why is it such a big jump from research to immediately a solution? You kind of are missing that divergence, and so a lot of different paths, and then converging the priorities and saying, this is what we're going to do right now because this is what's feasible, what's viable, what's desirable from the user, and it actually answers those challenges and pain points you discovered before. Again, 6 weeks is not enough to do it justice for the system like that. For a proper UX, you would probably need to do a lot more workshopping, ideations, prioritizations, again, divergent type of approaches before you converge and make something a bit better for the users. And guess what? One last thing is, of course, learnings, user testing, validation. What happens next? Where did you left off? What's the confidence that this is going to be a success? How would you measure that and assure it? As a user researcher, you would definitely need to look a bit deeper and be much more strategic with your approach, how you engage with a business, and then how you get to user research, and what do you actually research and what do you ignore. I think you're biasing your approach with UI. So you know the solution in mind, you think about, oh, I'll need to come up with features in the end. You kind of need to push that aside for now. You know it's coming, but don't rush it. Basically, this is a big advice for any UXer out there. You kind of like, oh, I need to produce something in the end, so therefore I'm always going to keep that in mind. Don't. Think about this as a discovery, literally discovery. You don't know what you're going to find along the way. Granted, you need to work within the scope, within measures and things of that nature, but you need to bring that actual team on a journey too, so that you can discover a lot of things to do and then pick the ones which are going to unlock the value the most immediately. So make sure to look into user research methods, how the actual singular user researchers would approach the projects. As per usual, if you like this video, smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and on that note, go research and design something. What else is there to do?